Good morning, everyone. Today we will start our new chapter, that is French Revolution from History, chapter number 1. Here are the synopses of this chapter. Introduction: French society during the late 18th century. Outbreak of Revolution: France become a constitutional monarchy. France abolishes monarchy and become a republic. Role of women in revolution. The abolition of slavery, and at last declaration of the rights of men and women. So, the first foremost important topic is the introduction of French Revolution. French Revolution was a period of time in France when the people overthrew the monarchy and took control of the government. The French Revolution lasted 10 years from 1789 to 1799. It began on July 14, 1789, when revolutionaries stormed a prison called the Bastille. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and Woman during this period announced the coming of new era, and its slogan is liberty, freedom, and equality. Why is it so important? Other than the Protestant Reformation and World War I, the French Revolution is the most important period in modern European history. It ended the last vestiges of feudalism in Western and Central Europe. It spread Enlightenment ideas across Europe. Next topic is French society during 18th century. In the 18th century, French society was divided into three estates. The first consists of clergy, the second comprised of nobility, while the third estate, which about 97% of the population consisted of the merchant, official, peasant, artisans, and servant. In French society during 18th century, here are some important topics, that is the struggle to survive, and the second one is emergence of the middle class. Struggle to survive. At the beginning of the 18th century, the French population was increased up to 23 million to 28 million at the end of the century. Roads and bridges were built and allowed the development of trade. Emergence of the middle class. In the 18th century witnessed the emergence of social group termed as the middle class, who earned their wealth through an expanding overseas trade and formed the manufacture of goods such as woolen and silk textile. So here my first question is, what was the reason for the emergence of middle class in Europe? The emergence of middle class in Europe, somewhere it was the liberal educated middle class who demanded the end of aristocratic privileges and encouraged national unity. They were inspired by the ideas of liberalism and demanded government based on consent. Causes of the French Revolution. Here are the main causes of French Revolution. The first one is social inequality, political causes, economic problems, strong middle class, and at last immediate causes. So first one is social inequality. French society in the 18th century was divided into three estates, namely clergy, nobility, and at last, that is the third estate, comprises of merchants and peasants and artisans. The first two estates, that is clergy and nobility, enjoyed certain privileges by birth. They were exempt from paying taxes, and the third estate had to pay taxes to the state. Political causes. Long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. France had a debt of more than 2 billions. To meet its regular expenses, such as the cost of maintaining an army, court, running government offices or universities, the state was forced to increase taxes, which angered the people. Economic problems. The population of France also increased from 23 million in 1715 to 28 million in 1789. Food grains were now in great demand. The price of bread shot up. Wages did not keep pace with rising prices. This led to subsistence crisis. A strong middle class. A new middle class emerged, educated and wealthy during the 18th century. They believed that no group in society should be given privileges by birth. Ideas of equality and freedom were put forward by philosophers. The idea of these philosophers were discussed intensively in salons and coffee houses and spread among people. And at last, immediate causes. On 5th May 1789, Louis XVI called together an assembly of Estates General to pass proposal for new taxes. Third Estate protested against this and they walked out of the assembly. Next topic is Outbreak of Revolution. The outbreak of revolution in order to pass the proposal to raise taxes by Louis XVI. So Louis XVI called an assembly of the Estates General on 5th May 1789 where 300 representatives of the first and seemed state of about 600 from the third and all about 1200 representatives gathered in a splendid hall for the assembly. So my first question related to this topic is, what were the main contribution of French Revolution to the world? It was a watershed event in world's history and has had many challenges effects. However, the most important contribution of the French Revolution to the world has been the idea of republic government. The following points are as follows, like social inequality in France due to the estate system, tax burden on the third estate, financial crisis caused due to costly wars. So my next question is, why the French Revolution was a failure? It was a failure because it could never establish a stable government capable of governing and defending France, caused people unjustified and ended up its own revolutionaries. My next topic is France become a constitutional monarchy. France became a constitutional monarchy after the National Assembly completed the draft of the Constitution in 1791. With an objective of reducing the powers of the monarch, they were separated and assigned to different institutions like the legislature, executive, and judiciary. So my first question is, why did the constitutional monarchy fail in France? In 1789, food shortages and economic crisis led to the outbreak of the France Revolution. King Louis XVI and his queen Marie Antoinette were imprisoned in August 1792, and in 21st September the monarchy was abolished. There are some important points on the basis of constitutional monarchy. Here the points are as follows. Number one, under the constitution, the men who were above 25 years of age and who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wage were given the status of active citizen. The constitution began with a declaration of the right of men and citizens. According to this declaration, the rights to life, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, and equality before law were established as natural rights, and it was the duty of the state to protect them. Does France still have royalty? Yes, we can say this. France has been under the regime of the Fifth Republic since 1958, and while 1789, the revolution, are the events that started it all, it took all over 81 years for the monarchy to completely disappear in France. And at last, why the French Revolution was a failure? In revolutionary France, the Legislative Assembly votes to establish the First Republic, and the King Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette was imprisoned in August 1792. Ultimately, 21st September 1972, France abolished monarchy and became a republic.